Mama gonna tell me. Speak on a beat, yeah. And if you ask around, you gonna say I'm undone. Ask your party, then go tell you who I be. See me, I never go rush, I never go blow my horn. No. I'm praising the Father, He will make me who I be. Where can I go? What can I do? You are the one, hallelujah. If you buy you, where can I go? What can I do? You are the one, hallelujah. If you buy you, yeah. Come see me now. When I drop one, better run. Demon them can't come around, cause them know my God, be the one, do the one. You in my life, for the jolly, yeah. I fly away for the holiday, Dubai, next stop Jamaica. Tell all of them see you later. Cause you they show me love where you never be alone. God, you they take me place, I don't think say I go. Father, you they show me love where you never be alone. So I go raise you high, never go low. My God, and if you ask around, you gonna say I'm undone. Ask your party, then go tell you who I be. See me, I never go rush, I never go blow my horn. No. I'm praising the Father, He will make me who I be. Where can I go? What can I do? You are the one, hallelujah. If you buy you, where can I go? What can I do? You are the one, hallelujah. If you buy you don't show me love, they be like. So I'm giving back up, and for every day I'm alive. I go lift you high, all the praises, all the praises. All the honor. Jesus, you be number one, from my heart. Nobody feel replace you, nobody feel replace you. Number one, kiss on my heart. Nobody feel replace you, nobody feel replace you.
Right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone, from wherever you are tuning in. And welcome so very much to this most anticipated evening of sharpening one another as we celebrate a decade of transformation. Welcome, 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 everybody. A very, very wonderful evening to see you. It is my great pleasure to be your host this evening, to welcome you to this much anticipated webinar, the third of a three-piece series on the decade of transformation by Lapid Leaders Africa, as we mark this great milestone, 10 years of impact. My name is Caleb Mukwana, and I serve at Lapid as the growth and partnerships lead. And I'm going to be with you in this session from now till the end. And I hope you're going to keep tight up to the end. It's going to be amazing. Very major talks, discussions lined up, amazing guests. Today, we have amazing ladies as guests lined up. They are all Lapid alumni, and you don't want to miss this. But before we delve deeper into this, please allow me once more to welcome you all to this evening of transformation, to engage and learn from each other. And I must commend your dedication that you are here this evening and that you have been here last week and the week before. I must commend you. If you are joining us for the first time, please look forward to an interesting evening of learning. So, I would like us to do a quick check-in. I want you to go to the chat box and post a greeting, maybe a meme or a word and if possible, where you are tuning from, as we get some music for some seconds. Please, in the chat box, reach out and greet, say hi. Even if you know someone among the participants, you can greet them in the chat box. We have a minute to do so. Let's go. Great. Just go to the chat box. Thank you. Elvis says, hi, everyone. I'm Elvis from Kisumu, Kenya. Oh, Elvis, welcome from Kisumu City. Wow. Mercy says, hello, everyone. I'm super excited. It's quite sunny in London. Oh, my goodness. Okay, let me not spoil the broth, but imagine this is global. Someone is tuned in from London and they're saying it's quite sunny. Oh, it's getting dark here in Nairobi. So nice to have you, Mercy. Let me post my greetings to everyone also. Good. Welcome from London. Let me see where you're coming from. So far, we have Kisumu City in Kenya. We have London City in the UK. Do we have any Nairobians in the house? Or anybody else from around the country or outside? Just get in the chat box and send your shout out as we settle down. Oh, great. Someone says, hello, I'm Namunane from Bungoma. Oh, I will tell you about Bungoma later in the webinar. I hope you'll stay to the end. I know someone who comes from there. Habari zenu, Edith here in Nairobian. Thank you, Edith from Nairobi City. Plugging in from NBO. Nice to see you all. Can't wait to see what's in store. This is from Lisa Maina. Okay, you know, some time back I used to think that Nairobi is NBI, but then I discovered it's NBO. So thank you, Nairobians. Thank you, everybody from all over the world. Let me read one more greeting. This is Nixon from Nairobi, and he's smiling. Nixon Mugambi, karibu sana, all the way from Nairobi here. Nice to have you. Nice to have you, everybody. Maybe you are joining us for the first time. Feel much welcome. Here we normally learn from the very best. Someone is from Makueni. Stella from Makueni. Hi, Stella. Nice to have you all the way from Makueni. I know umetinda vyema, umetinda nesa sana. Welcome. So, before we kick off and zero in to what we have in store today, I just want to take a moment and reflect on, imagine learning from the best, among the best, hearing from those who went before us, and learning from the experiences and how they have applied it in their lives, in their careers, to see the realities of how the Lapid experience has impacted the lives of these change makers around the continent of Africa and now all over the world. As we imagine that, I want you to realize that this is the space that we have that discussion. So whether you are joining us for the first time or you are coming back, you've been here for the previous webinars, I want to take this opportunity to invite you and ask you to sit back, relax, because in this webinar, we will not only learn about Lapid Leaders Africa and what we do, the programs we offer, we will also get to hear from those who have gone through the program, the impact the programs have had in their lives, in their careers, and the change they are making in the spaces where they are in. And of course, we'll also get to hear about what are we doing, our flagship program, as we celebrate our 10 years. We are 10, and on our 10th birthday, we are having a special cohort that we are recruiting. Before you go there, I would like to invite my colleague, Leon, to share with us the story of Lapid, to introduce Lapid to us, and then we zero in from there. Leon.
All right, thank you so much, Caleb. Hi, everyone. Good to have you. It is good to see so many of you who have been able to join. Please feel free to have your camera on. It's an easy session. It will be a fun session. We'll be getting to engage our alumni as well. So yes, it would be wonderful to see some faces even as we get to interact. So for those who haven't had the pleasure of interacting with Lapid, and this is just maybe your first time, to just give a short brief about Lapid is that Lapid is a leadership development organization that is based in Nairobi, Kenya, and it is an exceptional platform that we use that envisions, empowers, and nurtures the next generation of African leaders. And as we love to do during every webinar, which is just a kind of tradition for us, is we always get to play and just showcase the story of Lapid and just get to explain who we are as a program, what we offer, and what we're doing in order for us to grow the next generation of African leaders. So journey with me as I play this video, and we will get to learn together and find out more about Lapid Leaders Africa.
My name is Esther Mwaniki. I am the founder and CEO of Lapid Leaders Africa. I founded Lapid Leaders Africa with the primary goal being to ignite prowess among the next generation of African leaders. Our goal was and still is to develop the next generation into change makers, people who will make a difference within the continent. We run 3 fantastic programs within Lapid Leaders Africa. The first one is Crossroads program, the second one is a digital apprenticeship program, and the last one is our flagship program. Crossroads program seeks to equip young professionals with management skills and leadership skills to enable them to be able to drive change within the organizations that they are in. We work with young professionals who have about 5 years of experience up until 10 years of experience. The digital apprenticeship program seeks to place our students within small and growing businesses, and the young leaders would then serve these businesses in terms of providing them with digital marketing and data analytics, and ultimately enable them to be able to build into the business's operational efficiencies and expand the markets that they serve. The last one of my favorite programs. It's a flagship program that serves university students and recent graduates and equip them with the skills, the mindset, the experiences, the networks that they need to be able to successfully transition to the marketplace and ultimately to be able to drive change in those marketplaces. The flagship program is broken down into 3 distinct pillars. The first one is Lead Self, Lead Marketplace, and ultimately Lead Africa. Lead Self is one of my favorite pillars, and it focuses on building the self-awareness of our young leaders. We also focus heavily on building their mindsets, and so we are constantly asking, what does it look like for you to understand the opportunities in Africa and ultimately to become a change maker within the continent? We attach the young leaders to coaches and mentors who work with them to enable them to understand themselves and ultimately to be able to be purposeful in their careers. The Lead Marketplace pillar focuses on job readiness and workplace preparedness. And because of that, we have a lot of conversations around personal branding, around and we enable them to get career coaching that helps them to be able to understand themselves from a career perspective. Lastly, we have the Lead Africa pillar, and the Lead Africa pillar focuses on helping the young leader understand themselves as a Pan-African. And because of that, we equip them with entrepreneurial skills, we attach them to various businesses, they're able to see the practical side of being a change maker and building a business. At the end of the Lead Africa pillar, we provide our young leaders with an opportunity to be able to travel to a country within the region. In the past, we've done Rwanda, we've sent some students to Ethiopia, to Zambia, and the goal of each of these trips is to enable them to build a Pan-African mindset. By the end of 2021, we will have developed over 1,000 young leaders, and we anticipate in the next 5 years, we will develop 15,000 young men and women who will drive change within the continent of Africa. We'd like to invite all young leaders across the continent to apply for the program. If you're an ambitious young leader who looks to build a purposeful career and who's looking to be part of a community of people who will make a difference within the continent of Africa, you need to apply for this program. If you're a parent to a young leader and you're looking to ensure that they are on the right momentum, if you would like your young leaders to be part of a community of people who will challenge your young man or woman to be the best version of themselves, you have to support them to join this program. Enable them financially, emotionally, and support them throughout the program. And lastly, we would love to build a village of partners that we will work with to accelerate the work that we are doing within this continent. Our goal is to reimagine the possible, and we invite you to partner with us in this. Partner with us as an employer, partner with us through funding the programs, but ultimately partner with us to reimagine the possible within the continent of Africa.
Okay, I believe we've gotten to hear and learn more about Lapid Leaders Africa and how we've been instrumental in just igniting the prowess in the next generation, and that is the next generation of African leaders. So just to give a short brief again, Lapid is built up on programs and sessions that we have as Lapid Leaders Africa. And we have what we call a flagship program, which is split into 3 core pillars, which is the Lead Self pillar, Lead Marketplace pillar, and Lead Africa pillar. And I believe my colleague Caleb actually got ahead of himself because he was actually supposed to do a really wonderful announcement for us, getting to announce a special cohort, which I think I would give him that opportunity to share with us. Yeah, so Caleb, maybe you can give the announcement since you already gave us the spoilers.
Thank you, Leon. And before I make this very special announcement, Catherine says she cannot hear us while we were playing the video. So Catherine, if maybe you can just leave the meeting and rejoin again to see if the problem is from your end, then we can be able to fix that. But if anybody else is not able to hear us, you can always say it in the chat, then we can see how to fix that. But the beauty is all of you will have opportunity to listen to the recording of this webinar. And so worry not, we got you. All right, special announcement, ladies and gentlemen, I said we are 10. And on this occasion of celebrating our 10 years anniversary, we have a special cohort that we are recruiting for the Lead Self program. And this recruitment is ongoing. We have decided to do things differently this time. We have called this a special cohort because we want to make it, and we have already made it very special. One, we are targeting senior students, exceptional people that have potential for leadership, people that have already demonstrated that they are on the journey of leadership. Senior students in 3rd year, 4th year, and master's students, and also young professionals that have already graduated and they are starting their work, or they have started and they've worked for a short period, and they need an acceleration into the labor market, into their careers, into change making. This cohort is specifically designed for you. And look here, this cohort is going to feature activity field boot camps, 2 boot camps that you don't want to miss. Unlike other cohorts, we are going to feature 2 boot camps, and we have also reduced the time to only 2 months. So this is going to be a very, very special cohort of the Lead Self program. People are recruiting. We have so many numbers, people calling and asking, and people have applied. We are taking people through the process. If you have not applied and you are here, the link is going up in the chat. You can hit the link, you can make your application, and you can fast track your application to the next steps as we progress, because our time is limited. Actually, we have a few days. Towards the end of this month, we'll be closing the applications and begin the training. And believe me, you don't want to miss this. Why? Because you are the leader we are looking for. All right. So at this moment, I want us to jump in and introduce our guests. But I cannot do that before introducing our host, who is going to host the discussion tonight. And she is none other than the lady you watched, that amazing lady you watched in the video, Miss Esther Mwaniki, who is the founder and CEO of Lapid Leaders Africa. Esther, as I said, is the founder of Lapid Leaders Africa and the CEO of the same. She holds a master's degree in public service and administration from NYU, New York University. And she is also, she's also an alumni of Kenyatta University, where she pursued a bachelor's degree in commerce. That is, she's an accountant. So if you're here from KU, you have your alumni here. Esther is a seasoned writer. She's a strategic risk manager, a civic innovator, and a leader. And a leader in a generational. What I want to put it, I want you to understand how I'm describing it and link it to what we are going to discuss. She is a leader at Lapid. She's a leader in industry, in accounting, and she is a leader and a generational healer. That is who Esther is. She is so passionate about developing people, processes, and systems of organizations. She founded Lapid in 2014, 10 years ago. And some of her highlights in her career journey are as follows. Number 1, she was recognized by Obama Foundation and awarded as an Obama Fellow, one of the 20 and the only African woman in her cohort as an Obama Fellow. She was also awarded an African Women in Public Service Fellowship by Oprah Winfrey. And this is going to be our host tonight. So look forward to this. It's going to be amazing. Let me also quickly introduce our guest speakers. And as I said, they are our alumni. They will tell us which year they were in Lapid and what they were doing. The first one of our guests is none other than Miss Edith Masharia, an amazing lady, seasoned in project management, monitoring, and evaluation. She's an expert in this area. She has been involved actively in strategic program oversights, in regional expansion, and strategic planning, but that's just to name a few. Currently, she is the vice chair of the Dada Power Initiative, which is an initiative that is led by women, and it creates sustainable development through women and girls empowerment, focusing on socioeconomic and political fronts. That is Esther. She has been in this space since 2019 in Dada Power, and she's the vice chair. She's going to be one of our guests tonight, and she will tell us more. Remember, a Lapid alumni, and now leading in industry. Our second guest on the line is Miss Lisa Joy, who is a finance and administration professional. Lisa has been involved in risk consulting, accounting, and project coordination. This is her area of expertise, but currently she is the general manager at D&R Studios. I want you to connect. This is someone who is an accountant, and she's now working in a media organization. She's managing a media organization. She will tell us more how Lapid brought her to merge this and be the person she is today and what she's doing. Our third guest is none other than Miss Mercy Muia, the one who is joining us all the way from the UK. She is an authorizations associate with Financial Conduct Authority in the UK. And she says it's very sunny there. She has been involved, Mercy has been involved in risk analysis, in data analysis, in financial analysis, and in investment management. And as we speak right now, her superpower or her key skill is in analyzing business models and processes, and that is what she's doing. Remember, these are all Lapid alumni, and they're going to tell us more. So if our guests can switch on their cameras, and our host also, it is my pleasure at this moment, ladies and gentlemen, to bring to you our host, our founder and CEO, an amazing lady, a change maker, Miss Esther Mwaniki. Thank you, Esther. Over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, ladies, for joining. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Caleb. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Leon, for the engagement that you're having on LinkedIn. I have decided I'm spotlighting my people one by one. I've spotlight Lisa. Lisa, karibu sana. I am looking forward to having a conversation with Lisa. Lisa has been introduced. She's going to tell us a bit more about what she does, but she's the general manager for a company whose name I keep forgetting, but she's going to tell us about that. What I remember about Lisa is she served as the president for the Lapid Leaders Council in 2019 and played such a big role in supporting the organization's operations. And she has a faithfulness and loyalness that I am not surprised in terms of the way she's grown in her career. Karibu sana, Lisa, and thank you so much for your support over the years. You know, we love you and we honor you greatly. I also will put on the spotlight a beautiful lady called Edith. I've known Edith since, she doesn't know this, but I've known her since 20, is it, okay, she knows, of course, but she was part of the early cohorts. She was part of 2016 cohort 3. And it's been such a beautiful journey to see her grow into the leader that she is today. Even when I met her the first time, she was very passionate about governance, and I don't forget such things. So when I have things that relate to governance, they're one of the people that I pull, and who allows me to pull is Edith. She was up until, I think, I don't know if it's this week or a few weeks ago in Sudan or South Sudan. She's going to tell us. I always confuse those places. She's part of our prayer team, and I love that she's still playing a role in that space in terms of supporting us in prayers. We need a lot of those things. And then lastly, but not least, is the beautiful Mercy Muia. I've known, again, Mercy from cohort 4. So that was 20 2016. Mercy was part of our council and led the finance, did a phenomenal job as our finance leader. That's the one thing that I'll never forget. We had zero structure by then, but she did such a fantastic job of putting together our finance structure. And just to see her grow in her career has been also a joy. I don't know if my internet is working or not working, but if there are any issues, Caleb, please feel free to let me know. And my name is Esther Mwaniki. I consider myself a host of this session. And so I'm just going to be asking questions. But it's such an honor and a privilege to have the 4 ladies on the screen with me. I haven't done a 4 ladies Lapid alumni thingy. So first of all, I just need us to do an emoji, a proper emoji of just women taking space and allowing themselves to lead. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, first, because I don't think we even planned this. But that we have 4 ladies on the screen is actually such a joy for me. We tend to get quite a bit of male applicants. I think like even right now, when I look at our applications, we are probably at around 60% male applicants. And there is a plus to that. There is a minus to that. I am committed to make sure that we don't leave behind our ladies. And so it's a joy to see all of you here. But it's not just that they're here, but they've been part of our 10-year journey. As Caleb mentioned, we are celebrating 10 years of Lapid. We decided this one, we are not just going to roll into it and just and forget about it. We decided we're going to celebrate. And so we've been taking quite a bit of time to celebrate the 10 years. I think a month now, we had the privilege of hosting with some good friend of ours in the US called Taproot Earth. Please go to their page. Actually, somebody should put up that page, that name, Taproot Earth, and their page is the social media pages on our chat room so that you go follow it. They are in the space of climate justice. They're good friends of ours. The founder is an Obama fellow and a friend and a fellow friend. And so we hosted the Global Climate Reparations Governance Assembly in Kenya about a month ago. It had about 200, let's say about 200 leaders and activists. 40 countries were represented in that assembly, and we did some fantastic job of defining climate reparations, which I'm not going to talk about. Maybe Edith will. Edith was part of that conversation. And then we concluded it with a proper celebration of 10 years. And so we were at Bomas of Kenya celebrating 10 years because we are committed to this celebration. And took some time just to remember and celebrate the journey that we've been on. And then almost immediately decided we also want to do a cohort that's special to us, as Caleb talked about. It represents our 10-year celebration cohort. But also as part of that, just celebrate the people who have been the pioneer alumni. And so as part of that, I went into our journey and sort of just identify people that I consider pioneers of Lapid. And so when I talk about Lapid, many people see me, but in reality, you are all pioneers. And so I start by just saying thank you for being part of the pioneering journey of Lapid. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for the work that you've done over the years. Thank you for being present. And I just celebrate each one of you. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. So Karibuni, I flow a lot. I'm sure you were given questions, but if you know me, you know those questions go the way they will go, but we will follow them. I promise. I think I lied. I don't promise, actually. But maybe let's just start with an introduction of all of us. Who are you? What matters to you? Just what would you like to share with us? We will start with the eldest in the cohorts here. Edith, you tend to take that plate in this space, so you're gonna get me coming back to you a bit. So just who are you? What matters to you? Anything.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Oh my God, I'm already in the eldest people category. Time is going. I'm just laughing because, yeah, you said Mercy was in cohort 4, so I'm definitely cohort 3. Yeah, so my name is Edith Masharia. I was part of the Lapid program actually in 2016. Esther, you are correct. You have a very good memory. Or that maybe you just don't forget your people. You may forget other things, but you don't forget your people at all. So it was quite an exciting time. I think maybe I can just start from that background. I remember in 2016, I had just quite cleared my campus and I was in the governance space. I was with an organization called Siasa Place, and Esther connected with the lady that was leading the team, Plenary, and she introduced me to this. And then I joined Lapid, and it has been one of the greatest experiences. So as I've mentioned, maybe I can just continue and say like what is important to me or what's valuable to me as you can tell probably then in 2016, I was quite fresh out of campus. Governance has always been so close to my heart. But then besides that, it's governance and how governance in itself affects young women and girls. So I was there championing for youth and for women. So those are the two things that are very close to my heart. I always find myself, you know how it is like in this our very tax world where sometimes you have your passions and your purpose and then there's like the bills. So sometimes you will find yourself chasing opportunities to pay bills. But then at the end of the day, even within that space, you find yourself like back to what you really care about, whether it has like the money or not. So governance, young women and girls have always been the thing that I'm most passionate about. So I got into that space, got into Lapid and continued the work. By background, I'm a biologist, school-wise, and yeah, I am, yeah. And then I'm also a certified public accountant. So when I began my career,
I did not know that either.
Yeah, so you see, I'm so glad what you know about me is the passion part, not like the papers, you know, like those are the ones that help us to move from here up to there. And I found myself sort of in the like accounting space and audit and stuff. But then I now try to match up my passion, which is women and girls, into the NGO space. So I've been in the NGO space now close to maybe 7 years. Yeah, working with organizations that do research work. First in the education space, and then later on just pure on research on issues of social protection, emergency work. And as Esther has mentioned, I started my career right after Lapid. Oh my gosh, the most important thing, I don't know, maybe I'll get to share this later, but my first job, like, you know, like that fresh out of campus, I got through Lapid. So it was like, yeah, it's just a really good platform for those people who are considering to join. And it also helps me jumpstart my career into what it became later. So yes, I think I'll summarize. I'm sure I'll probably get another chance to
You
share.
will. I didn't even know your first job came through Lapid. And I just want to highlight that because I find the people who join Lapid to get jobs are the most disappointed people. The people who join Lapid to go do the work, you will find your positions. And so that's something that I want to highlight. But I want to lift something that you just said that I'd love to come back to you later on, the place of purpose and bills, because that's a reality that all of us have to live with. And I think a lot of people think about life in very linear terms. There has to be either or. What I'm hearing you say is finding your own path in that space. And so I'm looking forward to hearing what that has looked like for you over the last few years. I'm intrigued by the papers that you have an accounting degree, you have a biology degree, and you're in the space of impact. You'll share a bit more about what you're doing specifically. But I think it speaks to also something that I'm very passionate about, not allowing degrees to dictate your life. And just being able to follow the spaces that become available, but also the spaces that teach you more than the degree becoming the thing that enslaves you. And so I really appreciate and honor that. Masio next. Masio was part of cohort 4. Cohort 4 has a special place in my heart. You guys served extensively, and I'm always grateful for that. Just share with me a bit more about yourself and what matters to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Esther. I mean, first things first, super excited to be back home. It always just feels like home in Lapid. It's just one of those things that you're like, yes, finally in a space that gets me. So yeah, I am Mercy Philip. I am a Lapida. That's my first thing. I was in cohort 4. That was 2016. So closer to you, Edith. You're just before me. And it was one of the best things that I've ever done in my life. And I know it's very easy for us to throw that statement everywhere, but it really is. It shaped what I want to do in life. And yeah, it's been one of those best experiences ever. So my passion has been in the financial services. I've always had a thing for access to finance in terms of investments and specifically to women and girls. I've always found it very personal to me. And again, you never know where life goes. Like the first thing that I served in Lapid was actually in the finance office. So that tells you that God always has a plan for you. And currently I am in the UK, so I work for the Financial Conduct Contract Authority. That's the firm in the UK that regulates all the firms that literally do any kind of banking, investment banking, any financial services that offers here. My day-to-day includes analyzing business models, analyzing financial documents, and those kind of fine stuff, and some data at the back. Academic-wise, well, I have a bachelor's degree in actuarial science. Then I changed a bit. I did my master's degree in business analytics here in the UK as well, in Kent. And I have a certification in, I am a certified financial analyst. And yeah, just bits and pieces here. But my favorite heart is being a Lapida.
Oh, thank you, Mercy. It's really nice to hear about the things that you're doing. I lived in the UK. I never got the accent you did. Well done. I think it's because you probably are at the forefront with customers a bit more, and so you've had to rabbit. But I love that I can hear it. It's as close as it comes to me being in UK. I left in 2011. I haven't been back since then. I had some injuries from the land. Maybe I will. I think now I'm ready. I just wasn't before. I struggled with so many things that I told God I need 10 years out. But it's nice to hear the accent. The accent is still very unique, and I like it actually very much. I like what you're talking about. So for the guys who are just joining us today, one of the things that I like about Lapid and where we are at now, 10 years into our journey, is we actually have alumni across the world. Last week, we had somebody from Japan, and they had joined at 1 a.m. And I remember thinking, this sounds like Lapid land. And just today now, Mercy sort of just stepping in that space from UK. It's just really nice to see all of you doing the things that you're doing, but from a global perspective, local and global perspective. I like the diversity that we tend to have within Lapid, and because of that, there are many stories that we can tell, and I'm looking forward to those. I hear you talking about financial services in the UK. I think when people think about the history of UK was birthed from financial services. So financial services is the core and the center of the United Kingdom. Part of it is our money that you guys need to collect for us. But we will come back to that. We will marry the two of you, governance and financial services, to have the conversation and talk about some opportunities from a global perspective. And also the education. I'm intrigued by just how much you have invested in education, the masters. I tell people, I know many people who've gone to UK to do their masters. I don't know many people who've been able to convert a master's to a job. And I think that's something that you need to celebrate yourself for. You really did well for that one. And even the financial services, I forgot the last one that you said, but I hear you being very intentional with education, and that in terms of enabling you to do the work that you do. And I'm looking forward to hearing a bit more about that. And then the last lady on the screen is the most recent cohort, but who did such a phenomenal work. Lisa was part of cohort 18. I must remember your year, so I'm not giving you the screen until I do 2019, I believe. I could be wrong. The cohort was one of my special cohorts. I was so tired. I was headed to quitting Lapid. But cohort 8 came back with energy for me. And so in that sense, you represent, that's why I can't forget. Each cohort has a story. I had literally closed with cohort 7 in 2018. I was tired, I was exhausted, and I had told God, those people that I have raised are more than enough. I am done with that job. I was lying. I was gonna come back, but the cohort that I came back to was cohort 8, which was in 2019, and that's the one that Lisa was part of. And then after that, she became the president of the council, and she has been part of the Lapid community since then. There's no gate out of Lapid. But please introduce yourself. What matters to you?
Thank you, Esther. Hello, everybody. Good evening or good morning, depending on where you're at. Now that Lapid is global. My name is Lisa Joy Maina. I am a Lapid, of course. It's hard for me to introduce myself without mentioning that. Lapid has become a special part of my life since I joined. I joined Lapid in end of 2018, beginning of 2019. So Esther, you're right. Your memory is good. It's great. That was me almost a year out of uni, and I was just trying to navigate, the world. I'm employed, Fortunately, I managed to be employed almost immediately I left uni. In fact, it was before I finished uni. So, and I was in this world that I had no idea about, and a friend of mine recommended me to Lapid. So that's how I ended up being a Lapid. And since then, I've never left. You can never really leave. But over the years, I have managed to just traverse different worlds in my personal life, professional life, explore different industries. And I'm still exploring because, you know, I'm still very young. So there's a very long way to go. Still learning, relearning, and unlearning. And thank God for Lapid because it's a, you know, community that I keep coming back to anytime, you know, I need advice and even to mentor, you know, my peers, sometimes to even serve. So I think that is my anchor. It has been my anchor since 2018, new into the workspace. And even as I advanced in my career so quickly, I think over a span of 6-7 years, I've been able to, you know, peak where I'm at now, I think is a peak, but I hope to even go bigger. I have worked with big companies, small companies, and I work at a film and production company where I never thought I'd find myself. I have launched a new makeup brand into the market, a local brand. For someone who never even used to wear makeup, I think that was a very big achievement for me. And it's changed how I think of products and how I see products given. And recently, I have been given a new responsibility at the company and now oversee the entire company's operations and not just the merchandising unit, which is great for me because I love people, I love processes, and then I like connecting people and processes to resources. So that's what I'm, passionate about and what I'm keen on. In future, I hope to also get into corporate governance because of what I'm passionate about, just ensuring that people, processes, and resources are working and impactfully. That is because I'm also very big on ensuring that the work that I do has impact. So that's me in a nutshell.
I didn't even know the corporate governance bit. This is a session for me to learn a bit more about all of you. But I love the several things that I just want to lift that you said. This cohort is a special cohort, as I mentioned, and I want to work quite a bit with young professionals. So actually, I'm looking to work with guys who have some work experience. And I like where you joined, which is you had already finished campus. We're going to do final years as usual, but also we're going to do master students and young professionals. So if in that place, please make sure you apply. But I lifted up because that's when you joined. You'd finished campus, you got in a job, but you were 1 year into it and you were not clear on what you were doing. And that's very common. I mean, I think many people finish campus and imagine once you get the job, it's happily ever after that. But just that whole idea of finish, get a job and realize, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm doing with myself. And looking for a space which allows you to then explore in the context of your career, I think has made a big difference for you. And I love what you're lifting 6-7 years into your career and you're a general manager. And I just want to take some time to celebrate you, Lisa. And one of the things that I talk about is women being unapologetically ambitious. I am a big believer of that. There's a book around that you all should look for it. But it's
Hester, hold. Why did you say women about women? So the makeup brand that we launched is called Unapologetic.
Oh, interesting. So the book is called Unapologetically Ambitious. Is my internet breaking by any chance, by the way? Okay. So it's called Unapologetically Ambitious. It's written by a woman CEO who talks about how women are trained to be apologetic about their ambitions. I translate it as your ambitions are yours and God. They may be whatever it is. You may have an ambition to be the best mother that you want to be. You may have an ambition to be the best wife that you want to be, but you may have an ambition to be a big CEO. You may have an ambition to be a president. Whatever the case may be unapologetically ambitious. And so every time I work with women or interact with women, that's something I like to lift. So I ain't gonna glide or just walk through the fact that you're a general manager. Thank you. It's a big thing and I celebrate you for it. Well done. And I think the other thing I wanted to lift was the power of being a learner. This is such a big philosophy within Lapid. That whole idea of constantly learning. We force people to read books when they're starting and they don't like me. We force people to write articles when they're starting, but it's the culture that then we build around becoming learners. I spent some time, but I think it's headed to 2 years now in the US. And as part of that, I kept doing some visits in Harvard and loved it. And they have this philosophy that says learn to change the world. Learn to change the world. That's the thing that you find all over the university. And so, though you'd go to Harvard and imagine you'll find these great things, the actual big thing that's repeated often is learn to change the world. And I really like that because I think it speaks to the power of being a learner, that you can be whatever it is, unapologetically ambitious, but also then be a learner and constantly learning. And I lift also what you talked about, and I'll come back to you about mentors and peers and community that then support you in that journey. And then also, I'm just curious about how you've ended up moving, because I know where you were before you were in training. I remember you being hesitant about whether you want to move into this space and just seeing you embrace it. And I just want to talk about change and just sort of that learning, exploring spirit and how it has helped you in your professional life. So guys, that's where we are at. Beautiful ladies on the screen, please put up questions, comments on our social media. I think on LinkedIn, we are live. If you have any questions or comments, put them up in the chat room. We want to hear from you guys and learn together. Eden, I've done a full round, so I'm about to head back to your space. And I wanted just to you to share a bit more about what you're doing right now, and both at Dada and elsewhere, and what your vision is with it.
So, so currently, I'm going to start with Dada because it's what is very close to my heart. So, some friends and I run a community-based organization. It's called the Rapport Initiative. So that passion I was telling you about, we have taken it back home and we work to mentor young girls and also women just within our community. And we've been doing some work around climate change, about governance. So there's that, and I'm the vice chair of Dada Power. And then I also have another passion or another where I work in the NGO space. I was previously working for an organization called Reach Initiative. So I'm a researcher by profession, and I had been working with Reach for the last 4 years. So I do like research in terms of emergency context. And as Esther was saying, when I began that job, I started it in Kenya. And we worked in Kenya, like the emergency context in Kenya is usually northeastern. And then I grew within the team and I was able to move to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia and did some work there during the conflict in Tigray. And then I moved again to South Sudan. So that's where I was up until last month. And it's quite an interesting space. I also actually, now when I got into the NGO space, I did also a master's in project management, because then I wanted to just try and bring my degree together and into one thing. So then I was able to work in this space, and then I found a passion of research, which kind of doubles up as something that I love. I really like to write, and then I also have that praise for numbers. So it balanced itself out, and I feel that I don't want to delve into so much how my career progressed, but I'll focus on that. The fact that over the years, the one thing that we learned at Lapid was just how to evolve with time. So I told you guys my first job is the one that I got through Lapid, and I was able to stay there for almost half a year, maybe 5 months. And then I realized, okay, maybe I want to try something else, something different. And I actually just jumped right in. One thing that Lapid does, it gives you the courage to actually get out of your comfort zone most of the time and see, okay, this is I love what I'm doing, but then I could also grow into something else. So you don't have that challenge of deciding to move from one thing to the next. Then I changed up things, and I prepared my CV again, and then went now back into the space. I became a consultant. And within that second year, now this is my second year of employment at this point, I really loved also what I was doing. But again, your passion is always finding you. So I had always dreamt of wanting to work in the NGO space. And I'm telling you, yeah, once you have a dream and you allow it, or you allow yourself to actually pursue it, you sort of pursue it. So I have actually like worked my way into that space, and I've been able to get like regional experience within East Africa. So I was in Kenya for a year, and then another year in Addis Ababa, and the last 2 in South Sudan. And the experience has been quite immense, you know, working in the international NGO space and just getting to actually use my skills in that space. And yeah, also just travel to see different contexts, just to see how you can become a regional expert in different things. And now I'm currently also just working with another organization as a researcher, just now based here, but working more on a part-time basis. Just tells you how my career has progressed. So that's quite also interesting to see. We're working now in various countries, Somalia, Afghanistan. So yeah, and all of this is thanks to Lapid, because you have that to like jump and try new things, not just also try new things, just things that you actually excel at and you're also passionate about. Another thing that you also learn at Lapid is just how to be excellent and how to actually give in the extra work. I'm sure I've had a few of the other panelists have served on the council, and I know that's not a joke. So you have to learn how to give yourself early on. And so when it comes to the workspace, which is usually very grueling, it's research work, you're working late into the night, but then you have to deliver. So I think, yeah, the values of excellence is one of the things that I brought onto my career, and I've seen the fruits of that. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
so
what you're saying. I love it all. Let me just first celebrate you for what you're doing for Dada Power. We're currently writing a book for Lapid for the last 10 years. And one of the things we are lifting is the responsibility we all have to our communities. I tell people that if we all thought about the high school you went to, the community you came from, our communities would be very different. But there's a narrative that's propelled of be successful and live your life and happily ever after. And that robs our society of what we can be able to give our societies. And so that whole idea of I am going back and sort of activating the power that's within Dada, within the young people in my community, within the women in my community is a responsibility we all have. And I love that you're already doing it. And then I'm also hearing you lifting the power of getting out of your comfort zone. Every year in Lapid, we have this thing where we settle on a theme. A couple of years ago, the theme that we had was Courage is Calling. And it was this call for all of us. Let's have some courage to do something. And it takes a lot of courage to step away from biology and become a proper project management researcher kind of person. It takes a lot of courage to leave Kenya and go to Addis Ababa. It takes more courage to land in South Sudan, and sort of just keep evolving in that space. And I hear you saying even now in the job you're doing, serving Afghanistan and serving other communities, that kind of courage that it takes to do that is something that we're constantly asking that we build the character for. And I tell people it's one thing to have theory of courage is calling. It's another to get yourself exposed into experiences that force you to have courage. And I think that's this thing that Lapid has. It's a space that forces you to be courageous, fresh from campus, but courageous. And then I like what you're talking about, the self-awareness that enables you to know what matters to you. And because you understand what matters to you, then you're able to chase what matters to you. And I think that's also something that's very big within the space of Lapid. And lastly, the value of excellence that everybody hates me for when they're in the middle of it. But it's so beautiful to hear when people join here that if there's anything that Lapid teaches people to do is to go the extra mile. And once that's a practice that you have, you almost have no option but to live by it. And so I really like what you're talking about. Marcia, I want you to pick it up from the same place. Just take us through very briefly your career journey and sort of just some things that you want to lift in that journey, very briefly.
First things first, I think I'll just start with when I joined Lapid, I was in campus. I was literally in second year in campus. And
oh my God, you were in second year. Let's first sit with that. I had forgotten that. Oh my.
I was the second year in campus, and I was studying in Southeastern Kenya University. It's a university in Kitui. And we used to have classes every Saturday And then I used to have community service in the mid of the week. And I never missed anything. So thank you, Esther, for the excellence thing. When Esther says we hated it, it's true. It wasn't easy traveling all that time to do that, but it's one of the best skills that I actually borrowed from that. And so when I joined Lapid before serving in the finance office, we went to Addis Ababa. So we visited the African Union. It was one of the best things ever, yes. So when we went, we were lucky to have a meeting with a team that did something around financial services there. And so when they spoke to us, I remember my first question was, well, we have come here from Kenya. It's literally next door neighbor. And it's easier for me to change dollars than Kenya shillings. How is that possible? What's the AU doing about? So those are some of the things that Lapid exposes you to. When I got there, I realized, oh, actually, I think I really, really like the financial services and I would want something to do with it. So it's one of those things that Lapid really spurred in me in terms of, oh, this is an area you'd be really, really interested in. And I got it from there. Then when I came back, I was serving in the finance office and it was a blast. I loved it. It was one of the best things that I actually ever did in terms of just having that lead self, having that excellence and putting yourself out there to serve. It's so easy for Edith and Lisa and I to say, oh, go out there and serve. But yes, just put yourself out there and serve. It takes a lot of courage. So when I finished my time in service, I first joined Kenya Medical Training College. So I was working with the board of directors there. I was a governance and risk person there in their board. I enjoyed my time there, served as always. And then thanks to the confidence that we get from Lapid, I was like, no, I think I need something new. I need to go see the world. Then I came to the UK to do my master's here. And after that, I realized, oh, financial services looks like my world. So I transitioned to get a job, which is not easy, but we somehow did it. And just to emphasize on the taking the courage and just Lapid building that in you, you just have this, I can't explain it. And I'm pretty sure Edith and Lisa can't, but you just get some courage that you can't explain how. You just go out there and try to conquer the world. It just happens. It just happens. So yeah, from there now I have joined the Financial Conduct Authority, like I said, and I am tasked with authorizing and analyzing financial firms. So you can think about financial firms across the globe because we work with all financial firms, big, small tire, from everywhere, Africa, Europe, America, everywhere you can think about. It's been such an experience, but wow. Yeah.
I love that. And I love what I'm hearing you talking about. I'd forgotten about you joining in second year. I tell people if you're going to finish Lapid, there's something about you that is exceptional from the word go. I actually believe that you guys were exceptional. It's not necessarily Lapid that lifts that up. I think we activate what you already have. That's a reality of everybody who finishes Lapid. If you have the capacity to finish Lapid, there's already greatness within you. It's that perhaps we accelerate it and perhaps we activate it and enable you to have the courage and the, and just if you started second year, think about it. Started second year to show up into a class that Esther is teaching, and Esther will not make it slower because you're in second year. And then you then get into every Saturday, you have a practice of showing up in class. You cannot be late in that class. There are a lot of squad activities. Squads are like the small teams. You probably have a project that you're working on. And then you finish that and then you join the Lapid Leaders Council. You must manage our finances. You cannot lose even a coin in those finances. You inevitably gain some courage that will enable you to sit in the board, that will enable you to look for the job in UK, that will enable you to be able to pursue whatever it is that you need. And that's why I tell people it's easy to look for a leadership program that will do for you your CV. I don't do those things. If you're looking for just CV, please don't join Lapid. It's an unnecessary headache for you. But if you join to do the work, the person that then you become is a person that you yourself will be very proud of. And I think that's something that I'm hearing you lift, Mercy, and the whole exposure of you coming from Kitui. I need to wonder, when you're here in this country, we need to go and visit Southeastern University in Kitui. You
Yes,
have an assignment, Mercy. We must do that. But just imagine showing up from Southeastern Kitui, Southeastern University Kitui, you and Paul. Even Paul went to that university. And every Saturday interacting with people, the kind of excellence that it takes to do that is something that I think I want to lift. And then the other thing that we're really good at is the exposure. Just at your early 20s, the opportunity to wake up and go to African Union and meet with people who will tell you about dollars and Ethiopian currency and the Kenya currency, and that opportunity to start to ask questions that you may not even get answered to, but it activates something for you that becomes perhaps finance is a possibility. For me, I still remember you serving in finance. That's the one thing I will always sing about. And it's because it takes a lot of follow-ups. It's not at you. So what Mercy's role was, for purposes of all of us, was collect fees, make payments, don't lose a coin. And that JD for a second-year student who is dealing with money from the whole court is not a small thing. You had to follow up, you had to account for it. And I think that just sort of builds the character. And that's, I think, the thing that Lapid is very good at. It's not just talking about the theory, it's the practical experiences that you get that force you to activate the theory that I think is a big thing around the work that we do. And I'm going to come back to you because I want to hear about UK and the wins and the challenges you've had there. Just because increasingly you're finding people looking for opportunities outside the country, including our president wanting to sell us. But that's a story for another day. Lisa, coming to you. You talk about, share with us your career journey and sort of just lift some things that have stayed with you in it.
Thank you, Esther. So I mentioned that I started working before I finished school. So, like you said, we need to be unapologetically ambitious. So, in uni, I did finance. In case I didn't mention, I did a finance course that I really struggled with. I didn't know why I was doing it.
So
It's because the government assigned it to me. Sorry?
Which campus was it?
Maseno, Uko, in the village.
Go for it.
But a very good school. So the government assigned me finance, and at the time I didn't understand why I was doing it in the first place. I really struggled, especially the first 2 years. I just used to go to class because of going. But I think by the time I got to fourth year, I'd already, heard of Deloitte, EY, KPMG, the big four. And I knew I wanted to be the big four. So, I'll do whatever it takes. So I applied and landed an internship at KPMG. That's before I finished my fourth year and ended up, taking on the internship and then graduated. So after my internship ended for 3 months, I was taken again for an extended 6 months. And, I knew I have made it. I want to be there. I don't want to ever leave that place. Unfortunately, if you know, the Big Four is very competitive. So after my second renewal, I didn't manage to stay on. And I didn't know what to do because that was my world. I already had a picture of where I wanted to be. And I'm like, okay, so now what? So I ended up, being referred to a small audit firm in the CBD, and I had to restart everything. Been there for about 6 months. I really struggled, got seconded to work with one of their clients in industrial area. Well, there I was an accountant. So again, I used to wake up, go to work, and I was like, this is it. This is what we've been going to school to do, and something didn't sit right with me. So that's when I started asking around, how do I feel like I'm serving my purpose? I started having questions around, how do I connect my work to, my purpose in life? I feel like this is not it. Yes, I'm good in finance, I'm good in numbers, but I was just uncomfortable with waking up, showing up to work, and at the end of the day, going home, and that's it. And almost got tired of, routine, because there was barely any mentorship, coming from KPMG, where there's, a lot of mentorship and a lot of challenges you're exposed to on a day-to-day, and now I'm in a different world where there's barely any of that. I was very lost. And that's why I ended up discovering Lapid. So I joined Lapid. First, I applied, didn't join, I got cold feet. But Esther personally called me and was like, hey, you applied and then, you vanished. So I was like, okay, if the CEO can call me, then I can as well join. So I joined, I went the first Saturday, said I won't go back, but I found myself going back every other Saturday. So at the time, we used to have classes on Saturdays. So this was right before COVID. So I did the program, really loved it. I learned a lot about, connecting your work to your purpose, about just, purposeful working, showing up to work, but doing more than just, what is expected of you. That's the first time I learned about being proactive and, not necessarily sitting around and waiting to be, assigned work. That's when I learned that, you can be a proactive leader. And actively serving at Lapid also just allowed me to be bold enough to take on these additional roles, even without being told. So when I joined Lapid, I was very shy, very timid. I didn't like standing out, in front of a crowd or in front of people, but Esther says, deal with it. You'll be thrown into the deep end and you'll have to deal with it. You have to grow up. So she would tell us, leadership is not for children and this place is for leaders. So you have to stop being a child. So I had to stop being shy and had to, learn to be bold and stand out in a room where, people don't want to stand out. You have to force yourself to stand out. So this is at work, to give you context. So, that then opened doors for me. And like Edith, I managed to secure an opportunity through Lapid. So one of the mentors at Lapid runs, her own company and was looking for someone. So of course, Esther recommended the opportunity to, a bunch of us went there, secured the slot, and ended up working with her for, I think, almost 3.5 years. So, but even before I went there, I was already serving at Lapid. So just after I had got into the organization, COVID hit. And, we are going through a period of change. This is something new, none of us knew, and the world suddenly transitions to an online world where everything has to be done virtually. I'm in a new job, new work environment, new industry. So this is in training and consultancy. Totally out of what I used to do before, very different. And even the world has changed. So I quickly had to adapt. But, because Lapid was very rigorous, I felt very prepared to deal with that. We were taught about agility, VUCA World. So there's a lot of talk about VUCA, and suddenly I'm experiencing VUCA firsthand, and suddenly VUCA makes sense. Everything is so complex, very ambiguous. So, but I survived it. And a year after that, Esther again threw me into the deep end and challenged me to take on leadership. So I served as president of, the council. I had initially served under Learning Labs. So I'm sharing about that because it's a key milestone in terms of my career progression. So serving as president of Lapid seems like yesterday, but thinking about it was actually 2021. So I served for a whole year. I worked with a team of volunteers, I think about 40 at the time. And it was a very challenging season. I think we were still healing from COVID. The world was still healing. We're still trying to figure out how to do Lapid in a hybrid setup, some classes still online, but we still need to do physical activities. So there's a lot of transitioning and figuring out that needed to be done. And there's no one, Esther is not going to help you. So you and your council and your team have to figure it out. So I think that shaped the leadership, or rather the leader in me. And I then learned, how to lead a team, even when it's difficult with minimal resources, and doing the most and still doing a fantastic job, because Esther is big on excellence and Lapid is built on excellence. So I still needed to do, a good job despite the changes that are happening all around. So that was a key season for me in my life, because I have a full-time job and I still have another full-time role. So we'd like to think of it as volunteering, and you'd think it's a Saturday weekend thing, but it's actually a Monday to Monday thing. So I have my job and I have Lapid that is very dear to me, which is also a full-time job. So juggling the two really helped me know how to, balance as a leader and to have multiple things going on at the same time, because that is life. Even as a student, you still have to have your studies and still do Lapid. I think Mercy mentioned she had to travel from Kitui and still come to Nairobi. So you sort of have to do all these things at the same time. When life moves fast, one thing does not pause to allow you to do the other. So I learned how to do multiple things at the same time and do both things with a standard that, is expected of me. After that, I served in 2021, gracefully, and then handed over to the next person. And at the time, I still got promoted at Delft and now became a project manager, which is program coordination. And thankfully, I was in a space, that had a lot of mentorship, because the founder and the owner is also a Lapid mentor. So I'd say the orientation was very similar. So her way of work was very similar to Esther's way of work. So in the new role that I had to meet with stakeholders, I had to meet with CEOs, and I'm reporting to someone. So sometimes I'd find myself telling her, you need to do the meeting, and she'd tell me, why? You're the expert, do it. I'm like, but he's the CEO of 52 countries. She'd ask me, but you have the content. So I found myself taking on things that I didn't think I would first of all, at that level, and within such a short period of being employed. I'd been with the company for about 2 years at the time, and I was already running meetings that, were very, very huge. I would secure deals for the company that, I wouldn't expect myself to do. But all that, I'd say both spaces allowed me to proactively lead, but also I was given the opportunity to lead. So I attribute that to, the skill set that I had and even the courage that I got from, the two spaces. That's how I was able to, take on such big roles within a short time. And that's how I ended up where I am today. So that ended and I jumped onto the next opportunity. I was bold enough. Again, as Edith mentioned, there's just something that Lapid puts in you or instills in you that you're able to, feel free to move from one industry to another, however different they may seem, but at the same time, you're still anchored by your passions. So I moved to a film and production company that was, keen on starting a new business unit, merchandising. I had never handled products. I had worked with in the service industry. I had never pictured myself as a salesperson, and now I'm required to work in an organization that, is launching a new brand. So I have to find the business developer in me. But I didn't overthink it. Of course, I sought guidance, talked to my mentors. I had a coach assigned to me from Lapid who worked the transition with me. We still keep in touch, which is interesting. So I realized it's not rocket science. It's everything I have been doing over the years and the skills I had picked up. So it's not different. I had acquired skills that I'm able to transfer from one industry to another industry and just contextualize whatever I have learned and apply whatever is necessary and continue sharpening that. So so that is what has helped me just move from one place to another. And I'm still, confident that the skill set that I've picked in the different industries, the different spaces I've been in, including Lapid, are very key and they're very essential. I'm keen on going back to getting my master's, but at the same time, I'm not overthinking it. It is the key skills that I need. It is the what I've learned over the years. So it's just keep improving those things and keep learning. And, learning never ends. I still enjoy serving. And the other thing that has
I
really
sent you an
helped me
email
is
that you haven't responded to. I have new work for you. Even you did. Please check your emails. But go on.
So servant leadership. So I picked that up again in Lapid. So in every role that I've undertaken, I realize it's a leadership role, however small it is. So, and as an accountant at the time when I started, I used to see myself as just an accountant, but my mindset changed gradually. And now I see myself as a servant leader despite the role. I could be an accountant, but I'm still a leader in that role, servant leader in that role, because I deal with people, you're dealing with processes, I'm dealing with resources. So at that capacity, what is my role and what impact am I making in that space? The other thing that has really helped me manage the different, transitions and change that I've had to encounter is, being a navigator, and being an explorer, keeping an open mind. So change comes with, different things. I mentioned COVID. I mentioned that to move industries from working at a fuel company from KPMG, and now I'm in the film industry. And most recently, I'm now taking on a new JD, which is interesting. So just keeping an open mind and being a navigator instead of being, bystander.
Yep.
When all these things are happening and being a bystander and saying, but COVID is happening, let me wait. But the economy is rough, let me wait. So being a navigator as opposed to being a victim or a bystander has really helped me. And all that has been sharpened over the years, and just having an anchor. Like I mentioned, to me, Lapid has been an anchor. I still have a coach. I still am in touch with mentors. I still interact with people who've been to Lapid. Interestingly, I met a Lapid at my current workspace. At my former workspace, I got to meet Lapid mentors unintentionally, unplanned. So it's very interesting when you run into someone and they're like, I think I've seen you at Lapid. And you get to compare notes, you learn with each other and help each other navigate whatever world you're in at that time.
I love all that. You remind me our job is to build a movement, which we will. But there's so many things that you've said that I will lift. And then I will come back and ask Mercy and Edith talk about the experience working outside the country and the opportunities that they see for people in those spaces. But I like what you said. I didn't know you went to Maseno University. And that's the thing that I like about the community. We have people from Southeast Kitsui to Maseno University. And many people have the same history as you do, which is that you had a course that you didn't choose. The course was chosen for you. But you have two options. You become a victim or you make the best out of it. And what I hear from all three of you ladies is that ability to make the best of whatever comes into your plate. Edith, I'm sure, and we've had this conversation, South Sudan wasn't the most rosy place, but just that ability to take what you get and make the best out of it at that point is something that I'm hearing you guys lift in this session. I love what you said about unapologetically ambitious starting early. The idea of you taking an internship at KPMG is not a small thing, it's a very big thing. I hear people nowadays telling me the way wanalalanga 3 a.m., wakiwatch Netflix, alafu wanamkanga saa 6. And that's something to be proud about. You may want to consider looking for internship in such organizations, because the beauty of internship is the pressure then is less. So while you may not have been able to get the real job, your reality is internship, it's a little bit more gracious in terms of getting that job. And so just waking up and saying, I will not be sleeping at 3 a.m. watching Netflix. I will instead spend quite a bit of time looking for opportunities, internships and attachments that set me apart. I think today, 2024, it's foolish. I used it. I think it's very foolish to be in campus only. There are no jobs. So find a way to be out there, to be exposed, to get experiences that enable you to have something that by the time you finish campus, you have a degree and some level of experiences. And I think that's something that you're lifting. You're also lifting something around life happens, and we had the same conversation in the last webinar last week of people who had ideals of where I want to land. I want to land in KPMG, I want to land in wherever the place is. In reality, there is what we hope. In reality, there is what life gives. And just giving what you hope your best is what I'm hearing you say, but also being open to work with whatever life brings you and make it work. It's just something that I'm lifting from you, building around purposeful work. And this is something that Lapid is very passionate about, asking the why of the job, not just as an accountant, but as a servant leader accountant makes a very big difference, because it means you stop doing work as a punishment. We are not being punished to work, and finding the reasons that those work matter to us. And when we don't, it's fine. Just to keep on searching until we have those reasons. Going the extra mile, I hear that. I love the transition from the shy person to being okay with standing out. There is a whole idea around, I think in my church spaces, we call it false humility. where people are afraid to be themselves and they have a false humility. So that's people don't see the greatness. And I struggle with that, to be fair. I struggle with that as well. But just the whole idea of bring your whole self, stepping away from the shy person to being the confident person who is able to chase after the things that matter to them is something that I celebrate. The VUCA World is something you talk about, but I wanted to spend I love this. And I'm going to ask this question, but I love the way you talked about having 40 volunteers you are managing in addition to work. And I say that because I'm sure in this call, kuna tuamboni meambia they serve in the council and they're telling me they're too busy. Please just know it is you're robbing yourself. Because if you had a full-time job and 40 volunteers, what in effect you had is you had a CEO job. Because in Lapid, you're a CEO. I ain't now exaggerating it. I am sure you had to manage your life around those 40 people. But what that does is it then prepares you for the roles that you pick up today. And so it's just understanding the volunteership in the context of I'm learning to manage 40 volunteers, not even employees. Do you know how hard it is to manage volunteers? You're learning to work with minimal resources because I have the budgets that look like exactly that. You're building your leadership skills, but also the transitions in between that you're learning to manage them. And then linear thinking, I like that. You talked about that, and I'm going to pose that here, I think. Many people have a linear thinking in terms of when life is moving, it must move in this way. But building that capacity to be able to move in between, swing in between is what I hear you doing even now. Being able to say, I have done training, I've done KPMG, I'm doing entertainment, bring it on. Done one thing, I finish, and then I go to the next. It's a lot of linear thinking is often fear disguised. So you're afraid of failure, but you're not spending the time dealing with that fear. But when you do, you start to say, I have the capacity to be able to manage Lapid and manage my role in the organization that you're working with, manage my life. And then you start to stretch and build the capacity to do a lot more. There's an example that we give in Lapid, and I'm going to come back to you, Marcy, in a short while. You're going to go around now the other opposite way. But there's an example I talk about for Mercedes car. The difference between the Toyota and the Mercedes car. Now, if I spend too much time on this, it will take too long. But they say the way you drive a Mercedes car is very different from the way you drive a Toyota. One of the differences is a Mercedes car, the fast ride, you must take it far and fast. That unlocks the full capabilities of that Mercedes car. And so that capability is unlocked by taking risks. So you leading in Lapid, or being the CEO in Lapid and being the CEO in the organization that you are in, unlock some capabilities that then you're able to utilize today. And so I celebrate that. Mercy, a lot of people are talking about global opportunities. And there's something that you shared in one of the classes that I want you to share here around how you got a job in UK, because it's one thing to get school. Please share advice around how can we get school opportunities for those who are looking for masters, but even more importantly, how can we go about getting jobs if that's the thing that we want to do?
I think I'll start to the school, and I'm pretty sure you don't remember this, but another good thing about Lapid is when I was applying to Kent Business School, my specific course is really well known for being low acceptance. And so when I applied for it, you actually did one of my recommendations letters. And you actually sent it. So I'm not saying that when you join Esther is going to actually do a recommendation letter.
Please do not. If I did, it's because I had worked with you. Like me, I'm very clear. I don't lie with letters. And even if you force me, I want to do it. But if I have worked with you, I can give you a recommendation, and I'd worked with you happily to do it.
But it just tells you the kind of mentorship that you get in Lapid in terms of just opportunities opening. So when I got my master's degree, I went there again, carrying the same thing that Lisa talked about, servant leadership, and actually being out there, not being a bystander wherever you go, just trying to do your best. So I was, when I joined the uni, I had scholarship as well, half scholarship on it. So that was also amazing. And part of my scholarship, I was supposed to do some work for the university as well. So around research, trying to reach out to farms and trying to reach out to employers within the UK. That's also one of the things that led me to landing a job as well, because when you're there, I'm literally serving because of my scholarship. I wasn't getting paid for it, but you carry the same mindset from Lapid, or I did this for a year and in Lapid, trying to manage a lot of people, like Lisa said, and Edith, calling everyone every day, hey, you need to really do something about your payment. And we had, I think, 2 cohorts around the same time. So it was roughly about 60 people. So it's quite a responsibility. So I served there in my uni, again, not getting paid. And I got to talk to different people in the financial industry because it's a business school. So they're very specific, like farms they deal with. It's just finance firms, oil firms, and this kind of firms. So when I was there, I found a mentor. One of the people who's worked for the London Stock Exchange here. And then I got started in terms of just mentorship, looking at my CV, guiding me on what to get applying to. And yeah, so I did my journey of application. It's not rosy, just as any other application journey. And you have to hold that excellence in you and just showing that, you know, I'm all about servant leadership everywhere that I'm going. And then I landed my current job. And just to caveat that, the farm that I work for right now, it's also a really niche farm. It's pretty hard to get to. I don't like saying that because we get into it. So yeah, but it is a really, really hard farm to get into. But when you do, it just opens doors and windows and anything, the floodgates that you can think about. And yeah, that's how I landed my current role now. And the fact that I get to sit in meetings with international leaders, with CEOs of firms, you can imagine firms like any financial firm that comes to your brain, to just sit there and do all this thing. And on top of that, being more or less the only African in my setup, it's just mind-blowing, and you get to learn so much. And I tend to borrow so much from what I did as a finance in Lapid, because you learn, one, be courageous, two, put yourself out there. I came to this country by myself with a suitcase and went to do a master's degree. That's it. I did not know nobody here. I just came in, thrown in the deep end. But I'm used to that because Esther is an expert in that, pulling you in the deep end. You go there and just figure your way out, and it just pick those kind of steps, and then you come and get something out of yourself. But like you said, in terms of looking for opportunities outside, put yourself out there. No one is going to do the work for you. You need to do your research. You need to be confident. You need to reach out to as many people as you can. Just talk to anyone. And that's the best thing about Lapid. It just gives you this kind of network that you never thought possible. Like, we have everyone from everywhere. Edith is in South Sudan. It's not anywhere. It's South Sudan. That tells you the kind of expertise that's here. Lisa is leading a farm. You can imagine the kind of people that she speaks to. So different places, different countries, different mindsets as well. So just speaking to these people, trying to get different ideas, that helps you build into that. And when you come to countries like, for example, I'll just speak for the UK. When you come here, try to put yourself out there and don't box yourself with, oh, I'm Kenyan, I just came from Kenya, I just know, oh, people get jobs by connection. No, really. If you put yourself out there, it's gonna happen. But you have to do the hard work of just getting as many rejections as you can, because it's normal, and just accepting that and trying to tweak these things. Because I remember when I was doing my applications now for the current farm, and I actually didn't tell Esther this. So before I accepted my current role, I had 2 other job offers, literally here, and one was with British Airways. And you get to that space that God is like, okay, instead of doing all this, I'm actually giving you options to choose what you want to do. And it just stems from the fact that you've been such a servant, and you've carried such a mind of just doing things with a servant leadership and giving you the global exposure within Lapid as well. I was not the finance part, but this is the thing with Esther throwing you in the deep end. So besides doing finance, I was coordinating mentors. So I was speaking with mentors. I'm trying to get them to book our timings in here. And you can imagine the type of mentors that come to Lapid. You borrow so much content and so much information from these things, and they just build you into bringing you out here. But yeah, just don't be afraid. Be courageous. Don't be a bystander, like Lisa said, and just put yourself out there. Try to do as much as you can and maximize the service that you get in Lapid. I know people tend to look at it like volunteering, but I think of it as an opportunity. It's not anyone in my cohort that got the chance to serve here. I was just lucky. That's just it. I was just lucky to get that opportunity to serve. And when you get it, look at it like that. It's actually an opportunity. So you're not giving, you're learning so much from it. And I absolutely loved it. And I think another thing is just having a leader like Esther. So I know, like during the introduction, there was a lot of stuff that Esther has accomplished. Honestly, she's one of the best people. But my favorite thing is all these people you see here, you mentored us into be these young women that you can see. And for me, that's the greatest thing that you've ever done, and just carrying that everywhere we go. Because and I'm pretty sure Lisa and Edith will say this, that you have to have Lapid's image wherever you go, because you represent Lapid everywhere you go. Anytime that I'm turning and I'm saying, oh, I'm XYZ, and if you see this conduct, actually there's Lapid behind it, because someone might ask you about Lapid, or you might actually recommend them to Lapid. So you have to carry this thing, and it tells you the kind of global leaders that are there every corner you go. And like Lisa said, she's met so many alumni from Lapid. So it's one of those places. I know sometimes you can be thinking, oh, should I apply? It's one of those things I say, application is not the thing to be thinking about. You should have put your application as in yesterday, because it's just going to shape you in a way that you never thought possible.
That's so true. And I love that you've said it. I don't have to even repeat it. And the reason that I like it is the goal is to become leaders. And that's what we are about, raising the next generation of African leaders who will actually need to change this continent, but we will get there. We are on a journey towards that. And we're very intentional with that process. And what happens, and this is not just Esther, in reality within the Lapid community, people can pick up, if you're doing excellent work, they will pick it up and they will support you. I've seen people get jobs, and that's why I tell people, please stop supporting me. In between here, you can get jobs with ease, but they're not different from me. They look for quality. Once they get quality, I mean, the number of people that are here, me as Joangi nowadays, my buddy did, and my buddy supported me. But can people trust you? Can you do quality work, whether you're paid or not paid? Recently we had, I think, something that was being done. I think we'd been invited for an award in UK, and none of us could be able to present in it. But Mercy goes and does a fantastic job of representing us, and even gets some contacts that we are still trying to figure out how we work with. And that's the kind of thing that happens when people know they can trust you. Last week, we talked about this a bit, and we say the worst kind of people are the people you have to follow up to do everything. Those people are exhausting, and those people are thieves in my world, because you rob people the capacity to keep moving forward, because they have to keep looking behind for you. And I tell people, please do not be a thief. Don't make people to keep looking backwards to pull you up, because ultimately you're robbing people from moving forward. And so what I hear you talking about, Mercy, is just that power of sending kujituma, initiative, being proactive, but more than that, owning whatever small task or big task that you're given. That's the kind of thing that I think makes leaders. I like what you kept saying in terms of served in the university. You're doing it on a voluntary basis, but this is in the university in UK, but you're doing it as a service. And what I tell people, do it as unto God. I tell people, God is not a debtor of man, has never been. There is no one person who serves and serves with excellence and serves as unto God. And you look back and say, God, you owe me. Never. And what I hear you talking about is actually favor, the kind of favor that will enable you to have opportunities that are even beyond yourself. And so I really appreciate that. I like that you're keeping on going back to navigate what Lisa offered us, which is you have a choice to be a navigator or to be a bystander. A bystander stands by and waits for life to happen to them, or you learn to navigate through life as it is. If you do that in your 20s, the possibilities then become immense a lot more. Even where I am at today, that's the job that I'm constantly having my brain at. Do I navigate this opportunity or do I be a bystander? If I'm a bystander, I am robbing myself. We are taught this whole idea of you work for your boss, you work for your supervisor, you work for your partnerships. No, imagine you work for yourself. I remember, let me give this as an example, and then I moved to Edith. I remember, I think last year, I was part of a team for a local bank that was doing a digital show for young entrepreneurs. And I remember people coming to me and telling me, Esther, you must be paid thousands and millions for this job. Because me, I went and threw myself into it like it was my job. And I remember thinking, actually, it is that I have chosen to be in this space. And because I've chosen to be in this space, I am going to do it with excellence. I then go to God and tell him, but I was at this bank, I did XXX. I want XXX. Just learning to do it as unto God is a practice that I have picked that makes excellence alone easier. I love what also Lisa said earlier about, then you also have then a community that can support you. Coach Lenny is one of the people that we've worked with for a while, and I'm not sure if he's in part of this space, but he's coached quite a number of people within the space of Lapid. And it's that you have then access to people who are invested in your learning and in your growth. Even afterwards, Lisa is one of them, but I even know many other people who are working with him as their coach in their workplace. And I think that's then becomes the kind of growth that we want to be able to see ourselves go through. Edith, I want to hear about Addis and South Sudan, just sort of challenges and lessons that you picked from those lands.
Okay. So I just liked what both Mercy and Lisa said. So I want to just begin maybe on how I ended up in Addis. So I get into this new job, like it had been a year maybe, like just into the role, and I realized, once you are actually like on a job and you're giving a lot of yourself, then also the other thing that Lapid teaches you is that if you have something to offer, you have to speak out. Like you have to speak out and show people, okay, these are my skills, this is what I can do. So I had only been with this organization for a year, and there are always like expatriation opportunities where you get to go work in different countries across the world. But as Mercy has mentioned, there are some spaces, especially when you use like the word expatriate, it has a white people connotation. So you already count yourself out by the time you're thinking about it. But then again, Lapid has already taught you how to be courageous, how to, you're the exception, never like the rule, like you're the out of the box kind of person. So I'm with this organization for a year. I've gone to Ajah, I've gone to these places because, the NGO space, most of the work is in those areas. And I was like, I was giving a lot of myself, and I was like, okay, there are these other opportunities. Why don't I try out for them? And people were like, no, I think you need to be here for maybe 3 years before they even consider taking you. They can't take you. You're not white. They will not give you the opportunity. But again, you learn how to, just go for after what it is that you want, and then tell people, these are my skills, this is what I've done this year, and I am actually capable of doing this job. So I did apply for the opportunity, and I got the chance to go into Addis then and work. It was during the Tigray conflict, I don't know if I can call it that. And it was quite interesting, or rather, interesting is probably the wrong word when you say conflict, but then in a work context, that's the thing. So it's a bit busy. You have to give a lot of yourself. So actually, for us, as when you're young and you are trying to build your career, it's good to try out different things so that you're able to see like where exactly is it that you can fit in. So the context of actually getting yourself out there, it builds your CV. it also builds your skills and also gives you exposure, because the context in Kenya is different from the one in Addis. You're able to make different networks, you're able to do different things, and also like constantly gauge, is it this type of work that I want to do? And then another thing that Mercy mentioned this, that the other thing that you learn at Lapid, or rather Esther has one of her key pillars is faith. The Lord, she will, from the beginning of the call to the end of the call, yeah, you will be praying and praying some more. So I think that's also like one of the things that also gives you courage, because you may come into the program, you're also strong in your faith, but then you constantly see how she leans into that. So you also bring that aspect into your career growth, because I feel like faith in God also just gives you that courage to pursue things that were probably, you probably wouldn't have done before. So I remember having it as a whole prayer item, and I also just saw that come to pass and then find myself in that space. So I think just like marrying all those ideas, like what are your skills? What spaces can they get you into? But then also like that aspect of also giving yourself. We've already spoken about the excellence part, because if you're not going to stand out, people are not going to get you into these spaces, which are quote unquote just for specific people. So all of these things will come together and get you into these rooms. It's quite interesting when you get into a new country, and especially Addis can be quite luring. I know you guys have, a couple of you have been there, and you know there's the language difference. There's like all of these people, because it's the center of the AU. A lot of Africans are there, so you have to learn how to actually like socialize with different people, from the social aspect to the work aspect. You're working in a space where your bosses are probably white, so you learn so many things on the way, and it kind of also just accelerates your growth career-wise, accelerates your social circles. So you'll find yourself that the work that you're probably doing even at community level also is kind of supported by other people. So I feel like that's made me like a totally different person. I really enjoyed being there. And when the time came to leave, I was like, okay, am I ready to go? But yeah, I was also excited about just going into a different context in terms of South Sudan. I know like I really love social protection work. I love working in emergency context, but now when it comes to South Sudan, it's also like you have to have a big heart for this country that is different, because it's not probably as rosy as Nairobi would be, because I was doing field work at some point that requires a lot of resilience. Yeah. And a lot of like tapping into your inner self just to see, can I handle this aspect of the work? Because it's not just work, it's also like a whole other different context. Maybe you would just probably be at home and not doing all of these different things, but you measure, like when you're looking for opportunity outside your home country, you measure like how is it going to impact your career first of all, and also like what is it that you have to give. It also helps you grow your networks, because when you go in this context in the international NGO space, they're like people from different countries. So you will go and find yourself growing in a very different way, having a different mindset. I feel like it's something that you also learn at Lapid. Some of you are lucky enough to get to go to the Rwanda experiences, to the Ethiopia experiences. So you are able to have like a mix of this before you get into these spaces. So you already know how to relate with people. I feel like it's something that every one of us should try, so that you see what other people are doing out there. But then again, also that just having that sort of resilience, being able to relate with people that are different from you, and then also serve other communities that are in need, which is what is the thing that is close to my heart. So just the time, I think, maybe the other thing to mention is the fact that like you're away from home, so you'll also start to experience that, because you're away from home for different periods of time, away from your family. That can be quite difficult. So you need a support system. Knock, 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 my Lapid prayer group. So it's been quite interesting. So I think that's the one thing that both Lisa and Mercy have said, is that Lapid is kind of just always at your purview. Once a Lapida, always a Lapida. As if in the prayers, you'll be a buddy to somebody, you'll be a mentor, so you're never really alone. You'll probably be in a little sort of hut or a container in the middle of nowhere in South Sudan, and Lapid will be having a call and Esther will be like, oh, you need to join. I'm like, girl, I'm in the middle of nowhere. So it kind of just helps you because there's that difficult aspect of you being away from home, being away from the people you love, from your friends. But yeah, I kind of just have built a community that you can actually rely on, people who know they have goals and ambitions. And sometimes, yeah, not that family has to take the back seat, but it does unintentionally. So yeah, I think that has been the experience. It's like the aspect where your career really grows. You also grow as a person. You get to serve other people who are in need. But then there's also that aspect to consider of like, yeah, family, and also just being able to balance that with career growth. Yeah.
Wow. I love all those things that you're saying. I'm just going to lift a few of them. And then I'm going to ask you to tell me about what you picked up from the Climate Reparations Governance Assembly, because I think that's something that I want us to share. I think we should put up another session just for that. But just one thing that stood out for you from it. But I love what you're talking about. I think this is something that Marcy also talked about. You have to learn to speak up and speak for yourself. I think there's a lot of entitlement that people have of people should see my work, people should see how good I am, they should. But in reality, maisha ni mbovu, ni mbaya. And so you learn to speak up and to fight for the things that you need to fight for. And that's something that I think you're lifting, Edith, that I think is so key. If you write nothing else from this whole session, just learn to speak up and speak for yourself. And I think that, I like what the example you give of, there's this whole idea of expatriates are white people. It's called the white exceptionalists thinking, which we must bring down. It's an assignment that we will do. But in the meantime, you gotta speak up and fight for what you want. White, gray, green. We can do this job. We're gonna speak for ourselves. I think that's a big thing that you say that I just want to lift. And this is especially so for women also, because it's women who struggle to sell themselves. But the world is unfair. And so just learning to sell yourself is something that I'm picking up from you. The power of trying different things. As you try different things, you learn about yourself more. You learn about what is possible. You learn what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. The power of faith in God that I personally am very unapologetic about. I remember when we started praying for this current job, and we haven't prayed for 2 days. We prayed for a while, by the way. But we refuse to give up and see what God has done. And I think today's world, people are afraid to speak about their faith, but in the process, you're robbed what only God can do. And so I personally have made the choice that I will not be boxed by anybody. I'm intrigued by your passion for social protection work because of one of the Obama fellows in the space of doing quite a bit of benefits and social protection work in India. And that's the beauty of this community, because then it means the next time I get a report on that space, I will forward it to Edith. And then learning then becomes a big takeaway again that I'm hearing, an expanded mindset as you visit, as you stay in Addis Ababa, as you stay in South Sudan, you're expanding your mindset, but also the power of lifelong connections. I think that's the thing that Lapid has done a good job at, that you can be in the middle of South Sudan and we will bully you to enter a prayer. And in the process, you then connect with other people. And I think that's an important part of the whole process, but also there's a sacrifice to it. And I think that's important to mention, because I think people don't like to talk about the price that people make. There's always a price to be paid for anything. And I guess it's that you made a choice at that point for that sacrifice is what you wanted. It's a sacrifice you wanted to make and can live by in exchange for the things that you were able to get. And I think that's a big thing. I'm going to make one more round, and I think we'll close after that, of what you wish you knew when you're younger. What is one advice that you'd give your younger self, authentic advice that you'd give your younger self? Think about the person you were at 19. talk to that 19-year-old. I had seen some comments that I just wanted to read through. And if you have any questions, please feel free to post them. There's a comment here. Can I get a discount for your amazing program? Deborah, unfortunately, no. We've done the biggest discount we can. This program is supposed to be like at 52K. We charge at the moment about 18,000 shillings. We have gotten 100 people to support us to be able to do the subsidized. Primarily, I have had to make quite a bit of sacrifices towards that, but 17 and 18 is where I draw the line. So unfortunately, the answer is no. That said, this is part of you building your leadership skills. We have a lot of payment plans because we want you to figure out how you fundraise, you to figure out how you make a payment through the program. So it's just part of you growing. Today, I met with one of the alumni. They come to the office and they're telling me the one thing they picked from Lapid was fundraising. I am okay with that. So there are many ways you can raise the cash. It shouldn't be a reason not for you to do the program. The power of being a learner. South Sudan is my land. Or you have some people from South Sudan. Thank you for joining us, the Land of Africa Giants. Thank you for being part of this community. I'm eager to learn more about the mentorship and the Lapid leadership program. I think Caleb and Leon will be sharing links to the website, and they'll also share links to the application. We have a responsibility to our communities. Absolutely. Lapid helped me get out of my comfort zone. Yes, that's the thing we do well. Edith is an exceptional leader and brings invaluable insights to the Dada Power Initiative community. Oh, that's so nice. I love that these guys are here to support you. Thank you, Stella, for joining. Well, you have encouraged me, Mercy. I'm also a second year. I have been asking myself if I'm lost because I hear all the time when I'm done with campus. Catherine Karibu, there is a lot. The earlier you start, but we are very strict. So please only come if you're ready to do the work. Lapid helped me build my courage. There's nothing as great as finding a community that's geared towards achieving the same goal. I'm eager to join Lapid. All I see here is great achievements. Thank you, Emmanuel. We're looking forward to having you on board. Just a quick observation, I haven't gotten a success advisor yet. Leon, kindly reach out to help him. Someone will contact you. I actually feel some activated within joining Lapid for that session, so motivating. Thank you, Glorious, for following through the conversation. I hope you're planning to join the current cohort. This is just a very small part. The real job is within the cohorts. I'm a third year at University of Nairobi. Just came from the study abroad from the US last month, and the international experience was so great. I'm again seeing Lapid as a community to keep up with such an experience and just be able to also become part of the success team. Absolutely, please apply. I want to make sure that I don't leave any questions. Once a Lapida, always a Lapida, true story. Learn how to speak up and speak for yourself. Absolutely. And then the website has been shared. Please share any questions you have because we are in our last 5 minutes. I will close this at exactly 9 o'clock. So round, and you're all doing this in 1 minute. One thing you wish you knew at 19, Lisa?
I wish I knew, or I'd tell myself.
Yes, you tell yourself.
So I'd tell myself, it's okay to show up as your true self, true authentic self, because it is only as my true self would I be able to navigate the world as it comes at me, because I have something to offer in the world, and I have actually a lot to offer. And at different levels of leadership, I'd be able to figure it out.
Love it. You have a lot to offer, Lisa. I will affirm that. You have a lot to offer. I cannot wait to see you continue to offer the communities that you serve everything that you are. You have a lot to offer, unapologetically offer it. And show up as your true authentic self. This, I think, is one of the most powerful things any individual does, because your biggest magic is in you, because there are no two Lisas. It's only Lisa who has gone through the experiences that Lisa has. And so I love that. And that you will be able to handle whatever comes your way. Love that. Mercy?
I think 2 things from me. The first thing is, when you get to certain spaces, maximize your time there. Maximize your time there. Send yourself, talk to anyone that you need to talk to, and just maximize your time there. And another thing on the spaces that you go to, especially being in a foreign country, you might feel that imposter syndrome sometimes, but when you get in these spaces, on them and know that you got there because you actually deserve to be there, and you didn't get there just by chance. So those 2 things. Of course, the third thing, always have a service mentorship, service mindset whenever you go.
Mhm.
You never know. Go over and beyond everything, because that's how you meet people, by doing something for them and not always waiting for them to do something for you.
Love it. Maximize time. I think that's a big one in spaces. We want to shrink ourselves. And in the process of shrinking ourselves, we don't maximize spaces. We don't maximize time. We don't maximize connections. It goes back to being unapologetically fully present in the spaces that you are in. Own the spaces fully. You know, I tell people, you are allowed to rob yourself. You're not allowed to rob God. And if God saw that you're fit enough to be in that space, you shall not rob God. And so owning that space, owning the experiences, and just serving and allowing yourself to constantly serve. And I thank you, Mercy, for being that person. I think that's the heart that you have. And I can't wait to see how you continue to serve the nation there, the nation here when God allows it. But that heart of service, I think, has been good to you. Please keep holding on to it. Don't ever lose it. Do not allow those people to steal that heart from you. I have refused that part. But I love the things that you've just shared. I haven't refused. I've just said what have I said? I've just said, please never lose your heart for service and apologetic about it, because I think that's your biggest value. And I'm grateful that London has accepted you. I tell people, I remember the time, Shiro, we did a class. And in fact, when we finished, we prayed. And I tell people, a land has to accept you. It's very easy to go to global spaces and a space doesn't accept you. And so I pray that God continues to open doors for you and that the land accepts you. Edith.
I think for me, I mean, the one thing probably now I've learned over the last couple of years is to be present in whatever it is you're doing at that point in time. Sometimes you will be in school and you're just wondering, instead of being present in school, you're wondering, am I going to get a job? Am I going to be able to do this? My friends are doing this. So that idea of being present in school so that you're also able to give your best in that space. And also, like, once you give your best at something, trust me, the next phase is going to take care of itself. So you're in school, you serve, you do different things in that space, and that will open the next door for you. So just that idea of being present. I also would like to say maybe just also the idea of what Marcia's mentioned, just being able to serve other people, like looking beyond self. Let me call it that. Like there is you and you're important, yes, but then look beyond yourself and just see who else is in this space. What can I do to change or to make this space that I am present in better than how I found it, or to just influence somebody's life differently, because that's where your next opportunity will come from. That's where your next friendship will come from. Yeah, and just be present. Be present. If you're in Lapid, for those of us that are joining after this session, just go there, throw yourself into everything that they are offering. Oh, there's a service. Just go and serve there. You don't know what you will discover about yourself just by being there, or who you will meet will blend your life differently. So be present. And life will turn out very beautiful.
Oh, love
Positive
that.
mindset. Yeah.
I totally love it. One of the things that I talk about in Lapid nowadays a lot is dignifying moments with your full self. Learning to allow yourself to be in a moment and bring your full self. If you do that, if you're in campus and you're studying that moment, study well that moment. Bring your full service in that study moment. And then when you leave that corner and you're going to do Lapid, give Lapid, dignify that moment with your full self. So each moment, dignifying it with your full self, they tend to pay you back later on. And also just thinking of life beyond yourself. As you do that, life then has a way of then rewarding you with the things that it will reward you. So thank you, Edith, for being present. Thank you for the work that you're doing, supporting your prayer team. I can see they did not join Washindwe.
I think.
Oh, thank God. There's redemption somewhere. But thank you for all that you're doing. I'm excited to have you in the country. I got plans for your life. Please look out for my calls and my emails. Do not ignore my calls or my emails. So usijali nimeiona tu. Thank you so much, ladies, for being part of this conversation. It's been fun. It's been exciting. It's been, for me, such an honor to just host all of you. I love the journeys that you are on. I love the work that you're doing. I love the people that you are. I have a lot of faith in us. I cannot wait to see the things that we continue to do together. Please follow them, follow their pages, whatever they will share, whatever they're comfortable with. If they're comfortable with you following them on LinkedIn, they'll share their pages. If they're comfortable with you following them on Instagram, whatever they will share, follow them. These are wise women. Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you very much, Mercy. Thank you very much, Edith. Thank you very much for being part of this session. Asanteni sana. May the Lord bless you greatly. Back to you, Caleb.
Wow. That has been very amazing. An amazing bench of these 4 wonderful ladies. I just sat back and sapped up the knowledge, and it's been so amazing. You'll agree with me that tonight was an exceptional. So I don't want to spoil the broth. I want us to go home digesting what we've learned. But if you were keen, as they were talking about being unapologetically ambitious, you could see how they were unapologetically faithful to God. And that is something that I'm taking home with tonight. Be unapologetic about your faith and your belief in God, because your belief system is your greatest contribution to your success and your journey. So at that moment, I want to thank you all for joining tonight and invite those who have not applied to just do so. The link is in the chat. You can make your application. Those who are on the journey of applying will proceed, like Emmanuel will proceed going on with you. You will get calls from us tomorrow and the day after. And I look forward to having all of you in the recruitment journey, in the onboarding session, and being part of this amazing 10th year anniversary cohort. God bless you all. Good night, everybody. You are free to live, and see you soon. Please check out our socials for the next webinar. God bless you all. God bless you all.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you, Caleb.